Hey everybody, this is Renae Lipsmeyer from The Space Between, and you're listening to The Space Between podcast, the show that lets you listen to how the fans feel about the music, the art behind 31 years of the Dave Matthews Band. Stay tuned.
Hey guys, this is Renae from The Space Between podcast, and you are listening to The Space Between. And this is the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. So welcome to another episode. So this episode is called, drumroll please, Birds, Bees, and Dave Matthews Band, please. Now, I have so many reasons why it's called this, but you're going to have to wait. Yes, I am going to make you wait to find out why it's called that. So let's start with night zero. So night zero is always the night before day one of any show, right? And so for Deer Creek, we had a night zero on Thursday night, which was held at Murphy's Pub there in Fishers, Indiana. There were so many people that turned out for this event. It's always one of my favorite things. If I can be in town early, then I never want to miss a night zero, because again, it's just time to get together with other people who are in town for the exact same thing that you are. And so you can feel the excitement in the air, and everyone's ready for the next day, but they're also so very ready to see each other, right? And again, this is what this podcast is about, the family of the fans of this band. And so when we get together, it feels like a family reunion. We talk about, our last show, our best show, the next show, or, it is also a lot about life, right? Like, what are your kids doing? What are my kids doing? What are your spouses doing? All of the things. And so, night zero was very special. A lot of amazing people there and a lot of talent too. So, we had a couple of performers that, were so generous with their time to come in and really kind of just help us celebrate the weekend in Indiana. So let's fast forward to night one. So night one of Deer Creek. Of course, if you don't know a lot about Deer Creek is always has been traditionally a 2-day weekend. And so we have Friday night and Saturday night that we both that we get to see the band in one venue. So it's always super special. So the band did not disappoint this weekend. I mean, opened up the gates with Tripping Billies. And I'm going to have Andy put up the set list here. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can actually see the set list that is popping up right next to my head. And so night one, we're going to read through these. Tripping Billies, When the World Ends, You Might Die Trying, Walk Around the Moon, and then Madman's Eyes, which was a fake into Minarets, which honestly, it was the first time I'd ever heard them do that. And honestly, it just kind of worked. I think the vibe of Minarets and the vibe of Madman's Eyes complement each other very well. They still have like the underlying like same feel in the song. And so that was the first time I heard them tease Madman's Eyes and then slip into Minarets. And so after Minarets was Sledgehammer. And I know that that's a controversial song for a lot, but here's how I feel about Sledgehammer. I feel like it's a party every single time. So you've probably heard me say this before. Every time I hear Sledgehammer, it takes me back to Dallas 2019. I was with one of my girlfriends at the Dallas show there. And of course, this was the year 2019 that the band played JTR, and it was raining, and it was a magical show. But what I remember about Sledgehammer is when they played it, my girlfriend and I, we just ran down the aisles and we're giving everyone like high fives and all the things. And so every time I hear Sledgehammer, I think of that moment, but I think of just looking around and seeing all of the fans just kind of be present and so happy to be singing that. So always a party. And then he goes into Looking for Vein, Funny the Way It Is, It Could Happen, Bartender, Rhyme and Reason, Break Free, which again is another one of my favorites. I even have it tattooed on my arm. Proudest Monkey, into Satellite, which was a fake again. The first night they were really in tune with what the fans want. We love a good fake. I mean, who doesn't like to be teased just a little bit, especially when it's coming to like Satellite or something. So then into So Damn Lucky, Where Are You Going, Gray Street, All Along the Watchtower into Stairway to Heaven, which was a partial, and then All Along the Watchtower. And then, of course, 2 songs to close out the night, Funny How Time Slips Away, which is a cover by Willie Nelson, and then Warehouse. So if we look at the statistics on the first night of Deer Creek, we got 19 songs plus 2 songs as an encore, so 21 songs for the night. And in that group of songs, we got 8 tour debuts, those being Trippin' Billy's, Minarets, Sledgehammer, Bartender, Rhyme and Reason, Proudest Monkey, Where Are You Going? And then we'll count the cover of Funny How Time Slips Away. So an amazing night. And then that brings us to night 2. Night 2 had a little bit of a different feeling, and here's why. Gates opened a little early. We all received an email or some type of message saying, hey, we know that it's going to rain. So we're going to open the gates a little early so that fans can get in, get situated. Gates are going to open a little early. So all of the same. And then they kind of just said, the show may start a little early, which I think it just started on time if memory serves me correctly. But we only did get 16 songs total for night 2 because they did have to quit early for a rain delay. So night 2 opened up with Lie in Our Graves, which, again, I love this song so much, but every time I hear it, my heart just goes out to my good friends Mary and Bob, who are in Rogers, Arkansas. They have been chasing this song forever, and honestly it only gets played at the venues they are not at, right? So every time I hear Lie in Our Graves, I'm like, oh my God, Mary and Bob again. Like, I feel guilty at this point, right? Like, I keep getting the one song that they're chasing. And so, I definitely sent a text message to them that was like, I'm sorry. Like, I feel so bad that I keep getting it over and over. But then my friend Shannon, she was in the pit for night 2, and she did the exact same thing. And we didn't even know that we were both contacting Mary and Bob. Shannon said, I FaceTimed Mary and Bob, and I knew they couldn't hear me because I was in the pit, but I knew that they would be able to hear the song. And so she basically just kind of held the phone up, being right there by the stage, kind of held the phone up, let them listen, and then hung up. And so I did get to talk to Mary later in text messages. And so I think they're all at the point now where it's like, yes, thank you everyone for letting us know that they played Lie in Our Graves again. Yes, I know we still haven't heard it. So much love to Bob and Mary in Rogers, Arkansas. You will eventually get it, but here's the deal. Mary, you got to get back out on the road with me. Come on, girl, let's go. Okay, so after Lie in Our Graves, it went into Fool in the Rain. Always a fun song to hear. And then The Stone. And every time I hear The Stone, I'm like, oh, again, this is why I love this band. After The Stone, they went into Monsters, Dancing Nancy's, I Want You, She's So Heavy. Again, one of my favorite songs. I was not super familiar with this song until they started singing it this year in 2023. And the more research I did, or maybe at some point I heard the band talk about, hey, this is a Beatles cover. So naturally I go onto the internet. I'm like, okay, let's see what this sounds like from the Beatles. I feel like the Dave Matthews Band did a really good job of covering it. Yes, it does. They do sing it in a very similar way as the Beatles did. But here's what I like about it. When Dave sings these lyrics, and if you're not familiar with this song because it's new for them to sing, definitely try to get on online on YouTube or whatever and find a video of them playing this. What can Dave not make sexy is the first question. There's not an answer to that because I don't think there's a whole lot that he cannot make sexy. But for me, this is a new song that he has like sexualized for me. And yes, it's a sexy song anyways. Like, I mean, after all, what are we saying in these lyrics? I want you. I want you so bad. I mean, ooh, everything about that song is so fucking sexy. So I was so glad to be standing there on night 2 getting that sang to me. It was amazing. As all the ladies say, right? Like, oh, that was out to me. I loved it. After everything, into Jimmy Thing, Brick House, Gravedigger, She, So Right, which again was, if you ever ask me, like, what do you want to hear? So Right is always on the list. I feel like it's so fucking sexy. Again, that tends to be like what I'm looking for. Like, oh shit, that was really sexy. And those are my favorite songs. But So Right is always a winner for me. P&P was next, into Rapunzel, of course. And then Ants Marching. And that is when they stopped, and honestly I kind of wasn't for sure if we were going to get an encore, because by this point the lightning was going, we could clearly see it, we could feel it happening. And so they took a very short break, and then they came back out and surprised us all with Halloween, which is always a wonderful surprise, right? Like, I remember there were several people standing around me, and Kelly Allen, who, hey Kelly, if you're listening, had brought her new boyfriend, who, by the way, is amazing. I love, and this is another thing I love about the Dave Matthews Band shows, right? We go to see all our friends and our family, but then as things change with our friend's situation, whether that's, a new boyfriend, new girlfriend, new baby, whatever the shit may be, because life is full of new changes. Kelly had brought her boyfriend. I had never met him before. I definitely had talked to her on the phone to put the dots together and connect and meet him and make that connection, but also to see how much he like adored her. I love that. I loved watching that. So she looked at him when they played Halloween and she goes, "This is a really angry song." And I was like, yeah, but what's it about, right? At the end, love is hell, right? Love is hell. So, who said love was easy, right? Who said love was easy? So I love Halloween. Who doesn't love a good angry song from time to time? I think it was a good closer for that show, and just like the tension in the air, and like how magnetic it was outside with the lightning and the wind, and like it was getting dark, and we all kind of knew we were getting close to the end, but we didn't know exactly how to prepare for the end. So Halloween was definitely a winner. So in night 2, we ended up getting 3 tour openers, or tour debuts, or whatever. It was the first time they had sang them in 2023. I always get confused with the words, but The Stone, She, and Halloween had never been played in 2023. So for the weekend, we got 8 the first night, 3 the next night. So a total of 11 tour debuts in this one weekend. Now you'll have to remember, we have been through several big weekends. And there still are several more big weekends of the tour ahead. But I think right now, and of course this is my opinion, so definitely fight me about this, I feel like that Deer Creek is probably what everything has to live up to now. Now, I know the only thing that I could say next to that is Merriweather, Bangor, Maine. Those 2 venues had killer shows, but I feel like they were... I mean, they were good because of the situation, right? Like, it was raining. They knew it was going to rain. So the set list kind of reflected the weather and like what was going to happen. So I love it when a set list kind of reflects the weekend or the night or what's happening, right? It just makes it so much more memorable and maybe a little more special. But why in the hell did I call the title of this podcast The Birds, the Bees, and Dave Matthews Please? Well, I really wanted to do it The Birds and the Bees because, that's sex. And I was like, Dave Matthews Band, that goes together. But I also have a really interesting story that I'm not going to share on this podcast. I'm going to make you come back, right? Because I'm going to make you come back for more. So I'm going to close this podcast with saying I had the most amazing weekend. There were so many amazing people who even just came last minute to Deer Creek, and I'm just so humbled by the amount of people that texted me or called me or messaged me or helped me out when I showed up with no fucking tickets, because that's the kind of person I am. I just last minute kind of do shit. Everyone was just so welcoming, and the people that live in Indiana are so fucking proud of Deer Creek. And I can't tell you how many people welcomed me not only to Indiana, but like welcomed me to their home venue of Deer Creek. everyone was just so inviting. And I think that that's what makes it contagious, is when not only is the band great and the people that show up to hear the band amazing, but when the locals are also like, thank you for coming. We know we have a special venue here. It really just kind of makes everything work, right? You just feel so happy to be there. You feel like you're a part of something bigger than yourself. And then you've got all these people who are like-minded and are there for the same reason. So if you weren't at Deer Creek this year, I would definitely make a little note to try to make that happen in 2024, 2025. One thing we do know about Deer Creek is it does happen every year. So you could go ahead and put in that PTO time for next year. It does typically run towards the end of June, 1st of July. And so make that a plan. If you've never been to Indiana, if you've never been to Deer Creek, definitely mark that on the list of things to do. I know that next year, probably right after or right before Deer Creek, will be Alpine. Traditionally, Alpine is every other year, but it also falls near Deer Creek, typically somewhere around July 4th weekend. So one of those weekends, you definitely try Deer Creek, but also put on your plans that maybe to try Alpine next year. Definitely a fun venue, and I would put them really near each other as far as quality of songs that we get, how much the band loves Deer Creek. We know that the boys have definitely talked about how much they love Alpine, and how the Alpine is one of the venues that sings the most back to the band. And so that was amazing to get to see the crowd interaction, the fan interaction, going back to the band and just giving them all of the love that they deserve. So be sure to go ahead and start planning for 2024. I don't think it's ever too early to start planning. And here's how I look at it. If you have a plan that's already out in 2024, you write it on your calendar and you go ahead and you tell your spouses like, hey, here's what's up. Well, the closer it gets to the date, the less likely they are to be able to tell you no, because it's been on your calendar for a year, right? So like, just go ahead and write it down. Tell it to the universe like, hey, I'm going to Deer Creek next year, and it's going to fucking happen. So be sure to stay tuned. If you're listening to this on a podcast app, first of all, thank you so much for doing this. Second of all, if you have any desire to watch this shit on YouTube, I want to throw one up to Andy Mendoza, who is my editor. He puts this show together and makes me look better than I ever could by myself. So thank you so much to him. But if you want to watch these podcasts, you can definitely get on YouTube and go to the Space Between podcast with Renae Lipsmeyer. And so there will be several shows on YouTube. We're in season 3. I don't even know how this is happening so quickly, but we almost have 40, or maybe we already do. I'm not keeping up. 40 episodes, and they are all so very different. We started in season 1 where it was just me trying to figure out what the fuck I'm doing and how to do a podcast. Because again, I'm a nurse. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but what I do know is what I love and what I like, and that I'm smart enough to figure this shit out. And so thank you so much for like being supportive and helping me try to like chase some dreams at 40. How old am I? 43? Yeah, I'll be 44 in November. So thank you so much. Be sure to check out the YouTube. If you do find yourself on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all of the things, because what that does is that shows the people that are watching, because yes, unfortunately, we have to have people watch to see that there's growth in the show. Otherwise, if no one is interested in the content, they go, well, why do you keep trying? So be sure to do all of those things. Subscribe, like, comment. That doesn't mean that you have to watch everything. It just, what it does is it shows us, hey, you gave us some credit, you watched it, you listened to it. And so those people that are watching our show statistics are definitely seeing that. As far as podcasts go, if you can help me by making sure that you have your alerts turned on, whether you're getting this on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, however you're doing it, there is a way that you can subscribe to our podcast. It will let you know every time a new episode releases. So be sure to turn that on. And again, every download gets a number and a rank. And so definitely want to show our people that are watching that, yes, we've had 100 new downloads today, or whatever that is. So all of these small things, you listening right now is helping me to further tell the story of the Dave Matthews Band fans and the 32 years that we've had together, and hopefully many more years ahead. So last but not least, the birds, the bees, and the Dave Matthews Band, please. I'm going to tell you about a bird in Indiana that dove into my car, and I relocated it 2 hours south in Iowa. It's this shit that happens to me every time I go to a Dave Matthews Band concert, but I fucking love it, right? This is what makes the stories great. And when I get back home, I have all of these fun things to talk about. And it just makes life more fun. So definitely a shout out to everyone that was at Deer Creek. And again, be sure to watch the video on YouTube. This weekend was a big weekend for some really dedicated fans who have put 10 years or more into helping other fans really embrace this community of fans, to make them feel like everyone is on the same, we're all the same, right? And we do it all the same, just like Dave says. So just because you've only been to one show, or if you've been to 5,000 shows, or, you've never heard of the Dave Matthews Band, when you show up to a concert, you will be greeted as if you are like anyone else. So again, thank you for everyone that stopped me and told me, about the show and your experiences with it, or just your support. Again, I can't tell you how much that means. And so again, this is a passion and a love for me. So when other people can see that I'm doing something out of love and that it's exciting and that I really want to make it work, it just, it's nice to be complimented. So thank you guys for everything this weekend, and be sure to stay tuned. I don't want you to miss the next episode. If you can, show some love to Andy Mendoza. He's been putting all of this together. And so definitely show him some love. And guys, be sure to stay tuned next week as I am headed back out, and I can't even believe it. I leave a week from tomorrow and I'm headed to Albany, New York, which I've never been there before. So I'm super excited. Everyone has told me that SPAC will be amazing. And so it definitely has a lot to live up to. I don't think it's going to beat Deer Creek. Actually, I know it's not going to, but hey, I'm up for the challenge. So SPAC is on the 14th and 15th of July. And then, the 18th is Homedale, New Jersey. The 19th is Jones Beach. And then the 21st and 22nd is Camden. So I will be coming home after that. And so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 6 more shows. And God, that's just happening next week. So guys, be sure to stay tuned. I will be live in New York and New Jersey next week. So peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.